Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 3 p.m. Central, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You can find us on the radio at iacradio.media, and we are actually on a podcast there at thenewscasters.com. Television, Channel 182, Charter Communications, Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. You can also find us on all the social media sites. You can find us on Facebook. Got three different, you can't get away from us if you try. 3 different pages there, and so you can find us there. Also on YouTube, MeWe, everything. If it's social media, we do it, and including Twitter, which is now called X. But again, thank you so much for watching, and also thank you so much for the emails. Definitely appreciate that. You can send an email to donna@donnasedge.com. That's donna@donnasedge.com, and I promise you, I read through every one of them, and I even go through, the junk folder, because sometimes I just go there. But anyway, I read through everything. Sometimes it takes me a few days to get in contact with you, but it's because we get a lot of emails. So anyway, I appreciate you doing that. And by the way, we have some emails, and if you send an email and your name is drawn, you'll receive a book from this couple right here, Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey, and they're with Alabama Fair Tax. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Better get the questions in quick. We're running out of books.
Absolutely.
And they're getting hard to find too. They were a lot easier a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk. Everybody wants them now.
Well, I wish they would reprint them. Frankly, I don't know what is involved in that, but I wish they would.
Well, the authors have to go through and request all that.
They're just going to make more money. I can't imagine why they'd object to that.
I was going to say, don't they make more? Okay. So we know how that goes. No, we have an election coming up tonight. Beginning this week is the Democrat convention, and that's going to be really interesting. I'm interested in Joe Biden, what he's going to say, because I think he was kicking and screaming when they got rid of him. So now Kamala, is running for president. She's kind of physiologically, I don't know what you would call her, but anyway, she comes up with some really strange comments.
Yes,
sometimes. But anyway, that's part of it. That's part of the ball game. We'll have also, I'm looking forward to she and President Trump talking with each other. I think that's going to be really interesting as well.
That may be fun. Then again, it may be
I just hope he's the President Trump of the Trump-Biden debate.
Yeah.
I think he will be.
I
think he's learned a lot. I kind of like the old Trump.
Yeah, well,
I do too, but we have people in our family who don't like him because of the ad hominem attacks. And, if you love him, you love him. But if you just tolerate him, those tweets and things upset people. So
I still don't understand why it upsets people. I mean, because he's saying the same things we all think.
Yeah.
He's just out there in the forefront just saying stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it'll be a fair debate. And I think he'll just let her say her thing and let her self-destruct. That's what he did with Joe Biden.
She certainly can do that.
I think that's pretty much what he did with the Biden debate. Is he just let him talk.
Let him talk, yeah.
He'd make a face occasionally and shake his head, but then he didn't do all that stuff he did last time.
I was doing the same thing. Phil and I were looking at each other going,
what?
I like the part where he said, I don't know what he just said, and I don't think he knows what he did.
The thing about that debate was I actually thought that Biden did better than I expected him to do, because he's been, we've known for 3.5 or 4 years that he had dementia. I mean, it was obvious from, the keeping him in the basement. Whenever he'd come out, he'd say stuff. So
they had the elixir and all that time just right for him to peak during the debate. So.
Yeah, I just wonder what all those drugs have done to him, because they're not good.
Well, that's not a good thing.
Not at all.
Not at all. But the one thing, the one question that I would love for Trump to ask Kamala is okay, we all knew the decline with Biden. We've known this, since before he was president, when he was running for office. We all figured that out. What took you so long? And you were with him much more than we were, so there had to be things you noticed.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was a big lie, but they're going to have an answer for that. I'm sure that they know it's coming because, well, J.D. Vance is out there saying, why wasn't something done
prior
a long time ago? Yeah. Yeah. But people like Joe Scarborough acting so surprised when he would tell us that he would see him and he was at the top of his, he was the best he'd ever been. It just was,
yeah,
Sharp
really?
as a
So, it
tack.
was worse? So you mean he was worse?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's why you have to look at it.
Yeah.
Just think how far he had to fall those last couple of days to get him to say he needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when my grandmother had dementia, well, we were around her a lot, so we noticed it way before everybody else did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she would just say a few things, and other people would be like, and this would just brush it off, But when somebody's around somebody all the time, so there's just no excuse. These folks had to know.
Uh-huh. Well, Jill did because when she, after that debate, that was so cringing. That was awful. That
you did so
well,
good.
You answered all the questions, Joe. If Phil talked to me like that in front of a bunch of people, I'd go, "What do you think? I've got dementia or something?" I would have been, "What?"
Yeah, that was
really sad.
That was really adult of her.
Yeah, well, it is, I guess.
It is what it is. I mean,
Well, I didn't want to say it.
It's that. Okay, now there's another way we can look at things. This is fair tax. You guys know you had me hooked. I was hooked from the very first meeting. It took about 15 minutes and then I got it. Because I'm a business person. I own my own business, been doing it for years, decades, whatever. So it made total sense to me. But there are some people that, a little bit slower to move on things because it sounds too good to be true, basically.
Yeah.
But I love the way you guys explained everything. Now, there's something that you sent me, PhD economist Karen Walby. Top 10 reasons Democrats should support the fair tax. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, this is not a new list. Karen did this many years ago, and it just points out when you talk to somebody that's a Democrat and they say, "Oh, that's a Republican program. I can't be involved with that." But if they just sat down and thought about it, they realize that it really is for them, and it's and everything that they want in life is encapsulated in the fair tax program. So, for instance, the fair tax meets the entire Democratic tax agenda, starting with progressivity. And what we mean by that is that with the fair tax, our standard deduction gives you your tax money before you ever spend it. And then once you get past that deduction, it's the prebate. It's not really a deduction. It's just you never pay it. So it's not a deduction. It's just that you don't have to pay it.
You get a refund of taxes in advance. So we call it a prebate. At the first of every month, you get 1/12 of the taxes that you would spend on anything that you would buy up to the poverty level.
So once you hit that poverty level of spending, and that you may not ever reach that during the year, just depends on how much money you spend. And if that's the case, you won't pay any fair tax that year. However, for every dollar over the household,
it's based on your household size.
Household size, and it's called the family consumption allowance because this is a consumption tax. So once you get above that consumption allowance, you start paying the tax. But remember, if the consumption allowance for you is $12,000 a month,
that's for a single person.
For a single person, it doesn't matter. Just if it's $12,000 a month, well then, when you spend $12,001, you pay the tax on that first dollar after that amount. So it's progressively more as you spend more money, but it's on money you spend, not money you earn. And that's the complete difference. So you got the prebate that untaxes you up to the poverty level for your household size, and then once you spend money past that each month, you're starting to pay the tax, and then you'll never pay the full tax unless you spend a couple of $1 million, because it's an asymptotic curve, this tax thing, the progressive tax. And that's the reason why it's called progressive. The more you spend, the more you pay, but it's based on a single rate.
It's actually the flat tax and the fair tax all in one. It's a flat tax. Yeah, it's the flat tax on consumption. Everyone pays the same rate, and everyone can apply. Every single American citizen can apply for the prebate, which is a refund of taxes up to the poverty level for your family size.
On the poverty level for you, taxes on the poverty level up to your family size.
Anyway, so it's so simple. And once you pay the tax, once you buy something, a new good or service, once you pay that tax, it's done. There's unless you want to keep the receipts. If you have a shoebox you want to fill, that's up to you. But otherwise, it's just like when you pay sales tax. It's paid, it's done. You don't have to keep a record of it, which is the part I really love the most. Actually, there's not. I can't think of anything about the fair tax I don't love.
I can't either.
It just is. It is freedom encapsulated, and I'd like to address something that Kamala said the other day about taxing or about price controls on food. That's every socialist communist country has started out that way, saying that food was too expensive, and we've got them putting price controls on it. But what that leads to is, first of all, if she is elected and she does this, you had better start stocking up, because it's going to be just like in the Soviet Union, just like in Venezuela. You may have, if you want soap, you will have government soap, because the other companies won't be able to afford. They cannot work for slave wages. Mm-hmm. They cannot be slaves, and that's what I mean. Why would you be in business and not make some money?
True. Well, that's the whole idea. You put your house, you put everything in the world into that business, hoping you're going to be able to get that money back. So why would you?
Yeah, and there's so many business owners, especially when they first start out, that don't draw any wages until they've been in business for several years. They pay their employees, they pay their taxes, they pay the equipment fees and everything involved in it. So, knowing that you would never make any money, why would you go into business?
I wouldn't.
It also, if they do stay in business, you'll find that there'll be a lot of sawdust in your cheese or in your bread, because wheat is more expensive than sawdust, and it's been used. I mean, the cellulose and sawdust has been used for years to bulk up flour. So what you'll find is you'll be getting bread, but it won't be the bread you used to buy. Mm-hmm. So it's a scary thing, but unfortunately, it sounds so nice. It just, we're gonna stop.
Sounds pretty.
It really does, and to people who do not have an economic understanding of how you make money and how money flows, you can put that over on people until when the grocery stores run out of food. It's too late. The government will own everything. You will eat government food.
And you will stand in line to get it.
And that's exactly if it's available, or it will be sold on the black market, which is, that could happen. But it's not. That's not the.
Like you were saying earlier, the thing you got to keep in mind is if you have a business and you're not making a little extra money so that you can, if depending on business, you're going to do a little R&D and that sort of thing, pretty soon your business is going to go downhill, and all these products that you want aren't going to be there. And secondly, the ones that are there, you're not going to be able to buy them. They're going to be too high. Yeah, so only rich people, really rich people, can be able to buy stuff.
Yeah, look at California: $20 an hour minimum wage and $18 Big Macs. Mm-hmm. You can have. In fact, we went to lunch, and what we bought was twice as much as what we know. We bought the same thing we had
3
been
or 4
buying.
years ago. It's twice as much.
It's twice as much, and the inflation rate is really. I question what it is, because the gas prices have gone up.
Well, they don't in the CPI they use. They don't put gas and food in there.
Well, they take the things that were in the basket that they would price. They take out the ones that have the most inflation. Just like gas is almost 100% inflation. from what it was when
Yeah.
Trump was president. You got, it's so take gas out of there and this is our new basket of commodities, what we're looking at. So,
we always loved the Dairy Queen. We always loved the Blizzard Dairy Queen. I won't go there anymore. We were there and got, I think it was the small Blizzard. And it was ridiculous, the cost of that. Right. So actually, we went to the drive-through. Well, the person acted like they didn't care, that we were spending like 3 times more than what it used to be. Mm-hmm. And so I said, "Do you have our order mixed up with somebody else's?" I mean, it was like 2 mediums were like $16 and something with tax.
Yeah.
I said, "You got our order mixed up with somebody else's." I said, "No, we ordered the small." And she said, "Do you want the mini?" And I said, "There's a mini now." So it's like there's a mini for the people, that want just a bite, I guess. And then there's the small, then the mediums. And I said, I would hate to order the large.
Yeah, you can wipe out.
If anything happened to us, we don't have donuts very often, although it looks like we have them all the time. But no, it had been several years since we had gone to Krispy Kreme. And the last time we were there, it was $12 for a dozen, and then you could get an extra dozen for $1, I think is what it was. Well, when we just ordered, a dozen donuts, and it was $18.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and that was no, it was $32. We got the extra box; it was $32. So, I don't understand how they stay. They still manage to stay in business. There are still people here who have jobs, but it won't last forever.
No.
And again, if they pass
the flow of people going through there buying them.
If they pass price controls, buy your food now. Stock up and buy extra cans or bags of rice and beans and put them away somewhere. So because you're not going to be able to get them when that time comes.
And you need to make sure if you put them away, put them in something airtight because air can be the enemy. Mm-hmm. And so I use those little deoxitizer, I guess is what you call them.
Yeah.
Those little things. But now the only thing about that, when you open up a pack, you better have plenty of jars ready because you lose the power of it. So
or put them in a jar and vacuum the jar with them in it. That's another way to do it.
Yeah. And keep them cool. You don't want them to get hot. But
don't put them in the garage or something. So you got to do that. But something, you can make your own vinegar. Making vinegar is crazy. So we have peaches, and so and I just can't throw anything away. Mm-hmm. Phil says we act like somebody who has that. He's always saying, "You act like we're on the streets, practically." And I said, "No, I'm just looking for creative things to do and creative things to do for the show. So I don't throw the peels away from peaches or any kind of fruit, and you can make a vinegar out of it, and it makes wonderful salad dressing." You just put just a little bit of olive oil with it, and I'm going to tell you, it's nothing better than peaches that you've turned into vinegar. It makes like the best salad ever. And if you bought it at Whole Foods, like a 2-ounce thing of vinegar like that, it's going to cost you like $15.
Yeah.
So don't throw anything away.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to get your recipe because I haven't made vinegar before. It's
the easiest thing on earth. I mean, all you do is add water to it.
Yeah.
You let it sit, and you'll watch it go through the process. You'll see, it's fun to me. I mean, if we were trillionaires, I'd still do it.
Yeah.
But it's just fun to watch, and it's something you can do with your kids and your grandkids. And so what'll happen is it's alive. It's almost turning into brew. And so what it'll do is it'll start making all these little bubbles and all of that. And when all of that stops, you just drain all of that out. And you have now it takes several months, and the older it is, the better it tastes. So you got to have some patience with it. And so, the easiest thing to do is raisins. Get raisins. If you got, say a half-gallon jar, if you got that, make sure you got a good lid on it, and put about 2 inches of raisins in it, and put your filtered water in it. It does better than your tap water if you have, chlorine, whatever in it, and just fill it up with water, and you'll just see the magic happen. Raisins will start rising up. You'll start seeing these little bubbles and all this stuff. It takes about a week for that process to happen. And it's a great thing. It'll turn into kind of a brew. and you just have to have patience with it, and it turns into vinegar.
Yeah.
Raisins are the easiest things to do.
I guess it'd be like making sauerkraut too. You ferment it. Yeah. I've got some sourdough starter in the kitchen waiting to make bread. So
you're reminding me of my our foray when I was in the military, making some homebrew. It was when
Why do you think we're so happy here?
Yeah. We were in England at the time, and so I had this big speaker cabinet, and we got this bucket, and one of the guys got a bag of sugar, and another one got the malt, and we threw the raisins in there and mixed it up. Some guy knew how to do it, and that stuff sat behind that speaker for a month or two, and we had a Friday inspection. First sergeant come around every Friday, and he never caught it, or if he did, he said, let it go. But at any rate, we broke that stuff out at Christmas, and people would start tasting it, there's nothing to this, and taste it. One of my good buddies was a ex-Navy guy, and he had false teeth. He came in the next morning and said, Chuck, have you seen my false teeth? He'd got... He's a big Navy man, knows how to do it, take all this stuff in. He came in, he was looking for his false teeth. He came back a little later. Man, I'm so grateful. I found him in my raincoat pocket. He had sense enough to take them out before he,
Before.
You mentioned a record too, didn't you?
No. The record. We had a record sitting on top of this pail with a little hose out so that it would be able to bubble and ferment.
Mm-hmm. Well, what you do with the jar, because it has to be able to bubble and ferment, you just put like a coffee filter or maybe some material or something and put a rubber band around it. And that gives it some air to go in. But I'm glad you mentioned sugar, because if you're doing anything other than raisins, you do need to add some sugar in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that helps the process. But raisins are so sugary sweet anyway. You don't have to add the sugar to the raisins.
Yeah.
Well, this stuff had a lot more kick than people thought.
This probably would too back here.
and that was the only time we did that too, because everybody got so drunk off of it.
But there are things you can do that science that schools don't teach you. One of the things that I'm more upset, even more so than food, seeds, and that kind of thing, is just general. How do you make a living? Just balancing a checkbook. Are they even teaching that anymore?
Well, Kamala's going to give you $25,000 for your first home. That was part of it too. I don't know where all this money.
Well, the cost of housing is just that's nothing.
Well, the houses will be $25,000 more as soon as that happens. It's going to be
just like the $20 minimum wage. It's just going to make everything go up in price.
Yeah. And forgive the loans. I forgive the student loans. She's got a printing press. And she wants to use it and has no idea.
That's not fair to the people who worked their rears off and actually worked while they were going to college to pay their bills. Yeah, that's not fair to those folks.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not fair, and it's unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional on top of all that. Yeah. But I don't guess that matters anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I pray every night that we survive this one way or another. I know, God has a plan. I just wish I understood more of it, because
just be like the little cat and hang in there.
Yeah, I just don't know how in the world she ever got to the point she did, and Joe Biden too, because I followed Joe Biden since he was in the Senate, and he's never been one of the brightest bulbs. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
well, I mean, common sense needs to come back into the equation again, and one of the common sense things that really needs to be taught is debits and credits when it comes to finances. And I can't see where we could go wrong by having fair tax. One question. Okay, Sarah had a question. This is about buying houses. You want you to explain this to her. I think it was Sarah. It was Sarah. So Sarah wanted to know about fair tax. If that were to happen, should you? Okay, so she understood you saying, and Sarah, this is true. So she understood you saying that you don't pay taxes if it's a house that's not a new house. Right. So she just wanted you to go in a little bit more detail about that.
Well, the reason that's the way it is on new houses, you you'll pay the tax because it's all new goods and products in there, and the labor is new, but you're not paying income tax on the labor. You're just paying for the house has been built, the cost and the price of the house. But under the fair tax, all that tax has been paid on a lived-in house. It was all paid under the old system, so all the taxes that are required on that house have been paid already.
Now, once you pay a tax, it's never taxed again, and new construction is less expensive because the embedded taxes are taken out.
Right.
Currently, I think the cost of construction the added cost of construction is about 28%.
That's the important thing to remember about this, because people look at you and say, wait a minute, new house, how's it going to be cheaper? Well, the embedded taxes that Mary Lynn's talking about is what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
You rip all that stuff out, and the house is going to actually be slightly less or even.
It actually should be. It'll depend on who you're making a contract with, but you can negotiate on that, right, because they will have a lot more room to negotiate. Builders will. A new house, it's going to be just about the same for a new house as a used house, actually. But again, you negotiate with your builder, mm-hmm, and know that he can negotiate because he has not spent as much money on the construction.
Mm-hmm. Well, everything is went up. I'm expecting a housing crash of some sort.
It's going to happen very soon.
Yeah.
I think so. Do you think that means, because I've got two scenarios here, do you think that means that the price of houses will go up or down?
It'll probably go down, but the one thing that's the commercial real estate business is what's going to be a problem, because so many people are working at home now. They're not built. They don't need these big buildings that have been built, and unfortunately, it was money from pensions that paid for those buildings. So the price of those is going to go way down. And that's one of the things that's causing the banking crisis. So it's all connected, and you pull one string and it's going to come out the other side. And so there are no free lunches. The $25,000 that she's going to give away, somebody has to pay that $25,000, and I guarantee it's not coming out of Kamala's pocket. So, it's money that we are going to pay, which will make other things more expensive. So the person who gets the $25,000 is going to pay for it too. It'll just be later on.
Nothing is free.
Well, I mean, if you keep adding money on the backs of taxpayers, which is what this is going to be, taxpayers will be paying for all of this.
Yeah.
You're going to have fewer people that are able to pay into that, so the whole thing crashes. That's what it's all about.
And with the income tax, fewer and fewer people are working now. We're not having children like our generation did, and the generation particularly. We're part of the baby boom generation, mm-hmm, the largest group of children that were, that came about.
The minimum replacement rate.
There was a lot of celebrating when the men came back from war.
Exactly.
So we're all here.
The minimum replacement rate is 2.1 kids per family, per couple, and that's down to 1.6.
Yeah.
And when you hit 1.6, you turn into Italy and places like that, who they're not growing native Italians anymore. They're growing immigrants coming into the country.
Yeah, I heard a comment that one time that you can put in Spain and in Italy, you can have a whole room full of a whole room full of parents, people who have no grandchildren, people our age who have no grandchildren, because their children did not have children. So, and in fact, I've seen advertised on YouTube, there are whole villages in Italy where they will pay you. They will actually pay you if you're in, if you're young enough to have children, they will pay you and give you a home to live. And for each child you have, they'll give you money, because they need people. And the fact is that Social Security is another thing that the fair tax addresses. It, instead of being a pyramid scheme, which is what it is now, and for some reason the federal government just thinks that the pot of money that was the Social Security trust fund was such a, that was, they just dished it out. Yeah, it's like a candy dish. Unfortunately, now it's no longer paying for itself. It's living on IOUs, and those IOUs are going to run out soon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and because there are fewer people working now, the last number I heard was 160 million. Well, we're a nation of over 360 million, I believe.
With all the additional folks over the last few years.
Right. And so the debts of the country are on the backs of those people, the people who are working. And so with the fair tax, everyone pays, which means that you pay less. It's just, you can, if you have a bigger pot, and everybody contributes, you don't have to pay as much. And I love the fact that you don't have to keep receipts. I keep saying that.
I love that one. I can't say that one enough either. We've got to go into a commercial break, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there, okay?
Queen City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. That is Central Time, as we get to spend some time together. And I love spending time with Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey. They're with Alabama Fair Tax. And, it's all common sense stuff. I I just don't get why you wouldn't want to do this. If you're Democrat or Republican, independent, you don't care, you don't even vote, whatever. It looks like to me you would be on board for this.
Something that when Trump said there would be he was going to pass a bill, there would be no tax on tips. Then
Kamala came up with it too.
I know, and when he said that, the Democrats went after him too.
Well, CBS did a report and said our analysts say that's going to cost the government $280 billion.
But then the next week, Kamala came out with it, and they were celebrating it. So
okay,
it's tribal. Whatever the other tribe says is bad, and whatever your tribe says is good. So
and then,
I think
then Trump says I'm not going to tax Social Security, and they come out and switch that all around and say he's trying to kill Social Security.
Right, but the fair tax actually untaxes tips. It untaxes Social Security. It untaxes any income. All incomes are not taxed. The only time that money is taxed is when you buy new goods or services, and when something is taxed, it's never taxed again. So
and to really refine it is new goods and services for personal use.
That's right.
Because a business buys new goods and services, if that's applied back into the business, you don't pay a business tax.
That's, for instance, farmers who, when they buy equipment for their farm,
seeds, fertilizer,
anything like that, that's not taxed. They pay the tax when they don't pay the tax at all when they sell it to the whoever makes
distributor,
bakery,
whoever uses it.
Right. It's only at retail. So the tax is collected at retail, where tax is collected anyway. It's just piled on with the income tax. You're paying your taxes. You're paying the taxes that were added to the cost of whatever you're buying, and the taxes that were added to the cost of whatever it took to make that thing you're buying. Mm-hmm. So it just the cost of the taxes adds up, and like I said, with construction, it's as much as 28%.
I wanted to read another question. This was sent from Robert, and Robert said his dad was a builder, and this is about. He said, "Won't this slow down new building, like new housing and stuff like that?" Because
no.
You sure it won't? Because I'm looking into this too. Because so if someone has to pay tax, so explain this to us. So if someone has to pay tax on a new home versus, I just get one that had already been built.
All right, look, the older house, the value of that house is going to go up now because there's no tax on it. So hey, I'm going to go buy a house that's already paid the tax on, and the new house is going to be all the built-in, the embedded taxes are going to be taken out of that house. So it's not going to cost as much to build that house as the previous house. So I'm going to be able to, I'm not paying any income tax. I'm able to save that money longer. Maybe.
There's no business-to-business tax.
No business-to-business tax. All that stuff goes away. So my paycheck is a little bit bigger. I'm able to save more money over a period of time so that I can go buy that house much easier than I can now. So, and
there's no employer's tax, and there's no Social Security tax.
And believe it or not, the loans are going to go down too, because all the costs that are embedded in there that have to do with the income tax go away. And so the cost of the loans are going to go down.
And you're also going to be the fact is that people will be taking home their whole paycheck.
Right.
Every penny, if you look at what FICA is, that's a good savings. If you could take that home and put it in a savings account, you can buy a home a lot faster than you could then
You know, we learned to hate that guy, Mr. FICA, really early on.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
My first job, I learned not to like FICA.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Right.
So that's kind of a nutshell. You when you get rid of all those hidden taxes, and they're just hidden everywhere, from the light bulbs you buy it to down to the cement that goes into the house, all that stuff, the cost is going to go down because they're not going to have all those taxes in there.
Right, and the builder will collect the tax at sale.
Right.
But he doesn't have to pay Social Security to the people who are working for him. He doesn't have to. How much does it cost you to file your taxes every year? That is something that just I'm appalled at. In fact, you even have to put a stamp.
That's salt to the wound right there.
I know.
Not only am I having to pay taxes, well, I've got to pay somebody to tell me I've got to pay taxes.
Right. So, I mean, all of that is taken out. So it actually would be much cheaper to build a house. And because of that, a builder can sell the house for less.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to mention, too, you can still send questions to Chuck and Mary Lynn. Send an email to Donna@donnasedge.com, Donna@donnasedge.com. And you've got some good ones. Now, a lot of them you've already answered, which is the prebate and that kind of thing. But this one came from Terry. And Terry said that he owes about $20,000 in taxes. Would he still owe that?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, yes.
The IRS has 3 years to reconcile such cases as that.
You better believe they'll try hard.
And they'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the beauty of that is the bill says the IRS has 2 years and 9 months to clean up its rolls. And that what that means is the 31st of December is the last day of the income tax. And the year that the fair tax starts, the 1st of January is the first day of the fair tax.
Mm-hmm.
So everything past that's new or for personal use is taxed at the fair tax rate. And there's a grandfather clause in there for stuff that was just built the last day to cover the taxes that are paid out as income taxes. And then by 2 years and 9 months later, the IRS is defunded. So they've got to get all those hangers on from the end of the income tax system to get them reconciled, or they're done because they're defunded and their little IRS operation goes out of business.
And I move that we have a big bonfire.
Bonfire.
You can have
bonfire.
I'll be for it.
Yeah. So,
that'd be a good case of where you burning books would be okay.
Yeah.
burn all those IRS
right
and booklets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the people who prepare taxes, we get a question about that every time you guys are on the show. It's going to be a great thing for them. They can actually help people build their businesses.
Yeah, we can bring business back to the United States.
Yeah,
and we can actually have manufacturing here. We can have all those things that we used to have before we made it so expensive that companies moved out of the country.
And we don't have to do all that hand wringing and head scratching and backbiting that they go through now. Oh, should we do tariffs? Oh, we're going to get that stuff moved back to the United States. Now, how are you going to do that if you still have an income tax system the way it is? That's what drove them off. How are you going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to get rid of the IRS. Well, how are you going to do that without a system to replace it?
Yeah.
And that's where we're sitting there ready.
The only purpose of the IRS is to make sure that people pay their taxes. Right. There's no function other than it's a militant agency.
Right.
They're a collection agency, an overpowered full.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the American for Tax Reform came out this year and said that the cost last year just to do your taxes was over $500 billion.
Yeah.
And then you got I always tell you, then you got the $1 trillion of tax evasion. So there's $1 trillion 500 billion that doesn't go into this tax system that they claim that the money's flowing into.
I got a question, and this is a common sense question. Okay, so we all know that there was a place, I think, Mary Lynn, you mentioned in Atlanta or somewhere where somebody
yes.
like over $1 million. However, I can owe $500 and they're sending all kinds of crazy letters and everything else. how can it go to $1 million?
It was more than that. It was like 23 million. It was a huge amount of money to one post office box in Atlanta.
All these different names.
And the same thing happened with COVID money. People, collected the COVID money in one post office box.
Yeah.
It was huge, and they're really not going after that. So,
unless you're conservative. Well, most conservatives wouldn't do that anyway.
Yeah. So it's the government really is not efficient. If it takes as long in my lifetime, it has never been efficient. I mean, the only thing we've ever been able to do, and that was prior to the forming the UN, was we were able to win a world war. But ever since then, we've been at war constantly, have never yet won another one. So
remember what Ronald Reagan says, the 9 worst words: I'm here from the government, I'm here to help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help. That's the 9 words.
Okay, let's talk about illegals. Okay, because in the area that I'm living in right now, we're being run over here.
Yes.
Albertville and Boaz, there have been charter buses that are dropping Haitians off. And, they're hoping you don't notice these little things, but what some of the people are actually beginning to notice things.
Yep.
And so they've
now the city councils and all of the police and all those people are noticing it too, right?
Well, why couldn't they have already noticed it? But anyway, we know why. Okay, so in citizens, we have to speak up. We really do. So I have a friend who said, Don, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in your neck of the woods, I'm seeing a lot of like houses. They're clearing off land, these little houses. We're getting the overflow is what's happening right here in my neck of the woods right here. And I'm not really happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
I love people of all nations. I really do. I love my little Russian daughter-in-law, but now she's an American citizen and she works. Yeah. And so, I mean, she's proud to be an American too. No one is more proud than that girl is.
We all have members of our friends and members of our family who have immigrated to the United States, and that's wonderful. But they've done it legally. And what is happening now is they're making fools out of people who do it legally, because it costs money to become an American citizen.
Come here, and it's a time-consuming process.
Exactly. So what they've done is just said, if you came here and did it the right way, then you're just a fool. You should have just walked across the Rio Grande. And we would have given you a phone, and we would have given you an allowance. We would have given you a place to stay. And, in fact,
I would have even had your clothes washed for you. That one ticks me off.
What do you think that the legal immigrants are saying about this all now? Do you think that
what my daughter-in-law is saying, she's really upset.
Yeah.
And there are times my son does not take her to the grocery store, if you know what I mean.
Wonder which way those legal immigrants are leaning as far as their vote's concerned this time around.
Well, they said we have a lot of weirdo votes already coming in Alabama.
Yeah. I think that Wes Allen's pretty hard on those. He's found 3,200 so far that he's litigating. And so that's kind of says big sign saying, look out, warning flag, I'm coming for you if you're doing this. So and A.G. Marshall has got that list of names and they're going after him. So
hopefully, it's
I hope
and even so, if they're here illegally under the fair tax, they're going to pay taxes because there's no way around it. When they buy stuff, they're going to pay taxes.
And they don't get the rebate.
They don't get the rebate.
Mm-hmm.
So
and people who don't pay income tax now will be paying the rebate.
Right.
So
pimps, prostitutes, gamblers, and pushers, they're all gonna pay.
How
you gonna do all their forms? Well, they don't do forms now. That's the reason why they don't pay income tax.
We were living in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Phil and I were looking at this house. It was in a gated community. I didn't want the house because I felt like I was in prison. But anyway, I was speaking with the realtor, and I said, "Who lives in that really nice house?" I mean, it was like beautiful multi-million-dollar house. We weren't looking at that one to buy because we don't have the money for that. But I was just saying it was in that community. And she said, I think that's probably the biggest drug dealer we've got in Charlotte.
Probably.
And that's the point. They're not paying taxes on anything. They got their free money coming in, and hoping you find enough people who want the drug.
And
this,
they bought lawyers to take care of them to keep them out of trouble too.
this is just an anecdote, and I don't know. I couldn't verify the truth, but there apparently was someone who saw someone who was illegal who had a $13,000 balance on their food stamps. They were illegal and had gotten free food stamps. And it was probably for, a large family or whatever, but that
How large would that family be?
I don't know.
Darn large family.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about food stamps. So, I don't know how much you get a month for those, but, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't comment, but that really set me off because I thought, not only do you get free housing, you get free food. They even have people cook it for them. So and
washing their clothes.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
All I can say is that Davy Crockett is like a whirling dervish in his grave. And if anybody wants to know what I'm talking about, just look up Davy Crockett and
the Alamo.
Well, this was a bill to give a lady some money for some reason or other.
No, there was a family in Washington D.C. that their house burned down, and the husband. I don't know if the husband died in the fire, but something happened to the husband. So it was a woman with children, and one of the congressmen wanted to pass a bill to give this woman supplemental money, and Davy Crockett said, I will give her money out of my pocket, but I will not vote for this bill because it is unconstitutional.
So that's the basis for all of this stuff that we're talking about now. It's all unconstitutional, but we were so far away from the Constitution, we're not smart enough to look back and see, hey, this law can't go through because it's unconstitutional.
Okay, here's something I don't understand. Okay, you see this on television, and I'm all for helping people. I really am. But you're going to continue buying beer and cigarettes and all this kind of stuff, and your kids are starving to death. There has to be another way to do it. There has to be. So I've heard my grandparents talk about back in the day, and you guys have mentioned it too. Back in the day, they didn't have food stamps and welfare and all this kind of stuff, and the church actually helped.
Right.
And members of the church would find out somebody was in need. And so, they would all buck up together and bring a bunch of food over to their house. It was usually a woman, husband died in war or something like that, and had a house full of kids. And my grandparents taught they couldn't stand the thoughts of knowing kids were going hungry. And I remember them saying they were totally against food stamps. And I said, but I thought you were, before all this happened, y'all were always giving food. People, and they said we did, but we knew who was getting it. To the drunkard who didn't care anything about their family, and as soon as the money came in, was using it. They would find other ways to feed the kids. But they were. It's not. Somebody goes and has like 10 kids, and and they're that's what they do as a living. And I'm for food stamps and welfare, but not making a career of it. I think everybody now and then needs help.
We've instigated this industry though that does that, and people give money into the industry, and the industry takes it, and people end up $1 million jobs to I'm controlling this whatever it is, this charity, so I need $1 million to keep doing this, and so that's where the money goes. It doesn't go to people that need it, but the government. I'm from the government. I'm here to help.
Yeah, but I grew up with my mother saying there ought to be a law.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we have too many laws. And as far as people being hungry, I never could understand why you had to have free breakfast or free lunch at schools, because people who were cases that could apply for free lunches and free breakfast could also get food stamps, and if they got food stamps, they should be able. That didn't make any sense to me. Well, I understand now because you got drugs. It has made they have facilitated people using drugs and drinking and so on, and not taking responsibility for their children. So, I personally, I am totally against food stamps. I'm totally against welfare. But I also understand that if every church in this country adopted a family, there are a lot of churches. If they adopted a family or more than one, they could do the same thing, do it efficiently, and do it for people who actually deserve it, and not for people who want to use the money to support bad habits.
And mentor the folks, which is what you find typically in the religious charities. You find mentoring, and people work their way out of their situation.
Depends on their religion. The churches have become
arms of the government.
Well, yeah, I
charity, that's the problem.
say it a little less eloquently. I just think that churches are whoring now. They are taking money from the government and for their charities, and they have these huge charities, but they don't use the money the way it should be used. And that's why I'm against NGOs too. I do not like these government organizations. They really you've got.
They undermine everything.
Well, that's what's paying for the people coming across the border. They funnel money into churches, and the churches take their money and well, they don't just hand it out. They provide housing and so on for the people.
Yeah, but here's the way I think it needs to be. I think that if you need government assistance, I think it needs to be a box. And if you've got 10 kids, fine. But I think it needs to be a box of food. It needs to be stuff that you're going to have to cook. I don't think it needs to be frozen peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I think it needs to be something that's enough food for your family to last a month or whatever it needs to last. And it's up to you to make it last. I don't think you need to go buy a bunch of steaks with food stamps. I just don't.
Do you know, one time when we were in college, I was pregnant with our first child, and I was at the grocery store one day. I was pregnant. We were living on I think we were living on about $200 a month, and it cost us, our rent was $115 a month. So we had, what was left was to pay for us. And I was standing in line at the cash register, and there was a woman in front of me who had a huge bag of dog food. And the cashier said, you can't use food stamps to pay for dog food. It's only for, there's a list of things. And she said, she got really huffy with the cashier, and there wasn't anything the cashier could do about it. But so she said, all right, take the dog food back. She went back and bought steaks for her dogs with the food stamps. And, I was sitting there with my mouth open because, we would eat, I know how to cook economically. And actually, I know that because we had home ec in school. We learned things like that. We were able to, we would have hamburger or ham or something like that, but we didn't eat meat at every meal. We had beans and rice and things, but we had good food. And we bought milk from a farmer, and I took the cream off the top and made butter out of it. And it wasn't onerous. I mean, I was going to school at the time, and I was able to do all of that. But I knew how to do it, and I think that money, instead of giving it to people, they would do better to educate them on how to spend money.
Totally agree with that.
There is an epidemic now of colon cancer in young people between 25 and 45, I believe. And they're saying that they don't know for sure what's causing it, but they highly suspect that it's pre-processed foods and, and the sugar that kids are eating growing up. So that's a scary thing. I mean, that if you want to talk about spending money, cancer is an expensive disease to have. So there are so many reasons to do that.
There is. Guys, we're going to have to call it a day. Thank you so much for being with me. And thank you guys so much for watching. You can find us on the radio at iacradio.media. Beginning at 1 p.m., we are Fox News affiliates. You can also find us on television, channel 182, Charter Communications. Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast, thenewscasters.com. And it's a wonderful podcast. You're going to see all kinds of wonderful, wonderful folks who are out there and have their own talk shows, and they're not afraid to speak the truth. I'm really proud of that. You can also find us on all the social media sites as well. So again, thank you so much for watching. Chuck, Mary Lynn Bailey, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you having us on.
See you next time.
Absolutely. And you guys take care. We'll see you later.